Hello there, everyone. This is Southern Weather Media, and today is April 6th, 2024. And it's been so long since I've done a weather radio collection video, I think almost 8 or 9 months. So I think it's about time I do another one. So for each radio, I'll be telling you, if I can remember, the brand and model, of course, of the radio, approximately how old it is, what condition I got it in, when I got it, and in some cases where I got it. So let's begin on my desk. I have 3 radios here. First up is the Kaito Voyager KA500. And this is a really good radio, although I think sometimes it's sold for upwards of $60. In fact, upwards of $50 is probably too much, but I think that's way too much. I paid $40 for this, but I also bought the AC adapter up here for an extra $10. But I think it works well with the adapter, and it's certainly a really good radio. It's got a very loud siren, and it gets great reception on weather band, and it also has AM, FM, and shortwave. Shortwave is not the best interface with this tiny analog dial in here, and it really doesn't get the greatest reception, but it is pretty good. One thing that I've noticed about this radio, on AM, FM, and shortwave at least, is that it's got a DSP tuner, which basically means that it's a digital tuner disguised as an analog tuner, and that actually combines the disadvantage of the analog display not being able to show you exactly where you're tuned in with the disadvantage of a digital tuner not being able to finally tune in and occasionally succumbing to signal drift. So the drift is especially bad on DSP radios, but beyond that, if you can identify what station you're tuning into, it does get good reception on everything, and it sounds pretty good. It can also run on many different power sources. You've got AA batteries in the back, a hand crank on the side, a solar panel, and underneath it it's got a reading lamp, which is really bright. There's also a flashlight, which illuminates the dial, that's really cool, and a red flashing light. And then it can also run on the AC adapter, of course, and the it has a micro USB input along with a cell phone charger and a headphone jack on the back. So all around, it's a pretty good radio. It's sometimes a little overpriced, I think. So, oh yes, and I forgot to say, I got this on Amazon new in March 2021. So next over here is the First Alert WX150. So it's a pretty good radio. But unfortunately, it does not have a display mode, so if you ever need to turn this radio off, I would recommend just setting it to single county mode on a county that's not covered by your station. But thankfully, the siren and voice volumes can go down plenty low. And I got this at the Thrift store in December 2023. It didn't come with the AC adapter, but I found one in the basement that works with it, actually. And next up here we have the Midland WR10. Now I actually have 2 of these. This is the first one that I got, which was new in the box. I got it in May 2023. And as you can see, it has light gray printing, unless the camera just won't focus on it. Okay, there we go. It has light gray printing, and the top of it is kind of metallic. It's slightly a lighter color than the back. And that is because this is the older version. This one I think was made in 2003, according to the box. So that's pretty cool. And it works decently well. It's not my favorite weather radio, but it's definitely a cool one. And I love the design. Now I actually replaced the antenna on here with one from my broken version 5 WR100. Wow, my camera's really having trouble focusing on this. There we go. So, as you can see, it's a lot longer than most other WR10 antennas. I tried using the external antenna jack on the side, but it just never really did anything. And something just fell over on the shelf. It was a battery. Anyway. So the antenna doesn't really want to stay up quite right, but there we go. It's mostly staying up, and it does bring in the stations generally a bit clearer than otherwise.
The weather temperature, and we were made at 8 p.m.
Apparently it's not doing well right here. Whoops, I just switched the wrong switch. So yeah, it sounds okay. I never really had the best luck with reception on this radio, but it's still a decent one, and I love the design and how classic it is. So there we go. Now, while I'm over here at my desk, I'd like to show you one of my new favorite EAS channels. This guy's YouTube name is Northeast Georgia EAS. And I first found his videos, I think this was the first one that I watched, right here. And I watched it, I don't know, a few months ago, I think. And since then, he's been uploading quite a few videos. I think he's got 88 now. And some of them actually date back to the CRS days, which is really cool. He gets reception on KXI 22 and I think KXI 75, which I've pretty much never gotten. Of course, KXI 22 is a main for me.
Public proportions of North and Central Georgia.
But it's really cool that somebody else gets it really clearly. He's got lots of videos of it on here, along with, I know WWG82, which I've only ever gotten a few times. Certainly never any alerts on. So that's really cool. Now, unfortunately, there is one thing I don't like about this guy's channel, and that is that YouTube likes to ignore his videos. Look at this. If you scroll down from his most popular 12 videos here, one of them doesn't even have 100 views. And it looks like a pretty cool one. And WR120EZ is good. So, if you guys want to see some really cool EAS content, and some of which being from the old CRS days, then you know what to do. Go over to his channel, and I'll provide a link in the description, and check it out, because I think this guy makes some really cool videos, and he and I have actually talked some. He's really a neat guy, so there you go. I just wanted to show you how cool his channel is, because YouTube doesn't really seem to be doing a good job of promoting him. So I thought, since I have more subscribers, and if you look at his latest videos, I think I've been getting more views than his videos for some reason, so if you guys want to see any of these, then make sure to go over to his channel and check them out. Alright, next over here we've got, I'll start up here, the Recom R1650D. And I got this as a birthday gift from my grandmother in March 2022. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite radios. I have it connected to the Midland 18 STR strobe light, which I got for Christmas, I think, in 2021. And let me just do... Actually, I'm not sure if any of you know about this, but I discovered there's a way you can test your strobe lights without actually having to test the radios. And that is that you get the cord, or the jack, sort of halfway into the external alert jack. So, like that. And fiddle around with it until it's like touching the right metallic part in there. And you'll know, because then the strobe light itself turns on. So with the plug is just sitting halfway in there. I'm pushing it, I'm holding it to keep it touching that contact. But there we go. It's actually really bright. You can see it reflecting off the doors over there. And then down here we've got the Midland WR300 version 8.
Frost and freeze conditions.
And this is definitely a great radio. It's one of my most reliable ones. I got it on Amazon, actually, when it was still being sold from Midland in November 2020. And mine was made in 2019. And that's probably about it for that radio. So up here is the Radio Shack 12262. Now, this is actually my third 262. The first one I got in April 2021. So just about 3 years ago. That's crazy. But it was a 2008 one, unfortunately. So it went bad within about a week of me getting it. Thankfully, I was able to return it because I got it on Amazon. but I didn't get around to getting another one of these until October 2022. And I made sure to get a 2006 one because those are pretty much the only 262s that are known to be reliable. The 2008 ones will get tuner issues, and the 2007 ones frequently get decoder issues. However, unfortunately, my 2006 one, or my first one, actually got decoder issues as well. So, in January 2023, I got this one, which is also a 2006 one.
Weather service for the Gainesville listening area.
And it's been really great ever since. I love this radio. That's why I kept going back for trying for another one. I mean, just look at it. It looks so cool, and it's got such an iconic set of sounds. And listen to the siren, of course. I just love this radio so much. And it's got a good number of features in there, and I think this is actually Radio Shack's first radio that introduced the ability to program counties by name. And it even has a cool feature where if you don't know the name, or if you're like trying to copy same codes that you had written down from one of your previous radios, then you can simply enter in the same code and it will search and tell you the county that that code goes with. And then it will program it in there. So this is just a really great radio. I think I got the first one new in box, which I don't have anymore. The second one, which is just in the closet because it doesn't work, but it came with the manual. And then this one didn't come with anything else. So next up here, we've got the AlertWorks EAR10 in black, of course. And this one is one of my favorite radios. I got this just in February of this year, and it wasn't new in the box, but it did come with the box and the manual. And I keep this one on KXI22.
Made it through tonight. Here is the...
Mainly because Northeast Georgia EAS has one, and I think his is white, and he also, of course, keeps it on KXI22, and I just think it's really cool that we both have one of these radios, and then we'll both go off simultaneously for any alerts that come in. So this is definitely one of my favorite radios, and it's just so classic for the EAS community. It works really well, sounds great, of course. And I think it's probably a better weather radio than the other one that's very similar to this, which would be the Emerson Research CKW 2000. And we'll get to that in a few minutes. So then behind this EAR10 we have a beige Radio Shack 12259. The backlight's not showing up correctly on the camera, but it is the older, I guess like a turquoise almost color. It's like a blue-green. And this is the 2004 version, as you can tell by the public alert logo on there. The buttons on mine aren't responding the best, but they usually work okay.
54 degrees, wind calm. Macon.
The speaker is kind of distorted, but I think that may have been because somebody dropped this in the past. It came practically new in the box, but unfortunately with battery corrosion. And I just kind of cannibalized the lanyard here and the AC adapter from my Lacrosse S83301, which I don't even use anymore because it never really activated correctly. But I cannibalized those things for this radio, and it works great with them. It's definitely one of my favorite radios, and I've taken this one on a couple of trips. Actually, just one overnight trip. The rest would just be short road trips. But it's definitely a useful handheld radio. It gets great reception, and it has all the features that you'd want in a handheld, like a channel auto scan, different alert modes, reminder beeps, your county select, which is something that many portable radios don't have, and of course, alert defeat, which is another thing that many portable radios cannot do. So even though this radio is 20 years old as of this month, it's still one of the best handhelds ever made, I think. Certainly among the top 5 from Midland and Radio Shack. Dang it, I knew I was going to have trouble with this. Once again, I forgot to say when I got this. I got this in, I believe it was January of this year. It was either January or February 2024. So next over here, we've got the Midland WR30. And unfortunately, kind of like the 259, mine has a slightly distorted speaker. Geez, apparently it's getting bad reception too. Let's see if we can change the channel.
Miles an hour.
There we go.
Pressure was 30.05 inches and falling.
It's actually plugged into the external antenna, but I guess it was just in a bad spot for KEC80. So I got this at the thrift store. It didn't come with the AC adapter, but again, I found one in the basement that works with it. And I got it in July 2023. And I think this is actually my first thrift store find video. And it proved to be a lot more popular than I was expecting, so that was pretty cool. It's an excellent radio. It activates off of very weak reception, and it also gets pretty good reception, so that would be a rare situation, but it still works, even when it's got weak reception. And it gets very loud, probably even louder than the Recom R1650, or if not louder than the same. And yeah, it's just a really cool radio. Mine is from 2001, and it's got the older... Unfortunately, I messed up the sticker when I was trying to wipe off the price tag, but as you can see, it has the sticker for the model number, and underneath there, it actually says in raised letters, molded into the plastic, that it's a 74250, but it's definitely not. It does the beep for the weekly test, and it's also, like I said, it's been working really well, and unfortunately, I think 74250s are known to be unreliable, so I don't actually have one of them. I just went ahead and got this. So, that's about it for this radio. Now over here we've got the Midland WR100 version 3. This is the one that says Hazard Alert Monitor. There's also a version that says Public Alert Monitor, and that's actually quite rare, so I don't have that one. I got this new in the box on Amazon in January 2022, and aside from temporarily not being able to activate for anything for about a month because I kept switching the alert switch on and off, and that just messed it up, I guess. Finally, after I factory reset it, it fixed itself. But it's been working really well, and it's a great radio, as I'm sure most of you know. And aside from that issue, it's been working really well. Certainly it has lasted far longer than my version 5. That thing died after less than 2 hours. Less than 2 hours after I took it out of the box. So anyway, next up is the Radio Shack 12260, and this one's from 2005.
The showers after midnight.
I have it on KXI 22, and this is, I think, Radio Shack's only desktop weather radio that has a signal strength icon that's not just either on or flashing. The bars themselves actually mean something on this one. So you can see it has all 3 bars here, but if I lower the antenna, it goes down to flashing, and then if I partially raise the antenna, it's got 1 bar, and that was with it like that. It's hard to do this with just one hand, but if I raise it a little bit more, you can see it's kind of getting 2 or 3 bars. There we go, now it's on 2 bars and 1 bar. And then if I raise it all the way, actually, let me just show you what it sounds like when it's getting those bars.
40s. Saturday and Saturday night.
It still sounds
clear.
good, but it's just not quite
Highs
as
in the
good
lower
signal
70s.
as when it's all the way
Lows
up like
in
this.
the upper 40s. For more detailed weather, water, and climate information, please visit our website at weather.gov/Atlanta.
So you can hear with it raised all the way up, and
Freeze
it's got
warning
3
in effect
bars.
from
It sounds great.
daylight time Sunday.
Also, wow, freeze
What?
warning?
Sub-freezing temperatures as low as 30 degrees expected. Where? Portions of southwest North Carolina, East Tennessee, and southwest Virginia.
Wow.
When? From 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time Sunday.
This almost sounds like it would be
Impacts. Frost and freeze conditions could kill crops.
not
and
even
other
from
sensitive
GSP.
vegetation. Freezing
Might be from a
conditions
different
will last
forecasting
between
office.
1 and 3 hours early Sunday morning. Take steps now to protect tender plants from the cold. What? Temperatures as low as 34 will result in frost formation. Where? Fannin, Union, and Towns counties.
Actually, I think
When?
that's right about where the Northeast Georgia EAS guy lives. And in fact, it got down to 33 at my house last night, as we can see over here. The sensor's on the deck, and there's the maximum for today, and the minimum. Oh yeah, the temperature was showing up right there. Alright, anyway, while we're over here on this table, I'll go ahead and show you this boombox. This is my family's old Sony CFD-S26. This thing gets incredible AM reception. Let's see if it's actually tuned in. I think this is AM 550 WDUN. Yep, it is. So I have this antenna on here, and that's improving the reception. You can hear it goes away a bit, but it's still kind of there. With the antenna on there, it improves it greatly. And that should also work on the famous WSM AM 650. Oh yeah. Wow, listen to that. So yes, it is nighttime, but that's great reception for being over in Nashville, because I'm just north of Atlanta. So that's why I have this radio here. It's just an amazing AM radio, and it sounds great. It gets very loud. The cassette part doesn't really work anymore, but the CD part is working great. And obviously this AM antenna works really well as well. I got this one in 2021, and we've just had this for most of my life, if not even longer. I think these were made in the 90s, actually. And behind it, we've got a Midland external antenna, which is actually twist tied together because I don't have it mounted on the window yet, but this is the 18-259W, and this thing is incredible. I just got this for my birthday last month, and I'm gonna have to mount this outside a window somewhere because the reception is already pulling in a station that I could never get clearly reliably, but over here on the Recom R200,
10 built. It was clear. 52 degrees.
there it is.
Wind northwest at 14 miles an hour.
That's WXK56.
It was clear. 54 degrees. Wind calm.
So it's almost perfect reception. Versus without the antenna,
A chance of showers
on
after
channel
midnight.
6,
Lows in the
I
mid-50s.
just unplug this without shooting
Light
off the
southeast
table.
winds.
But it still sounds good on channel 6
30%.
without the antenna, but on channel 1, it's nothing but static. And if I plug it in,
It was partly cloudy. 54 degrees. Dew point.
that's insane. This is my first antenna that's really made a difference. Because I've got, obviously, this one that I already showed you, the Sangean ANT100. And this is good for sure, but it doesn't actually bring in different stations. And I also have a homemade dipole antenna, but that's currently being used just on the floor to get reception over here on the 12249. So I've got the best one so far plugged into my multi-channel monitor. It's monitoring all 7 if it can. This is the Recom R200. I'll go ahead and show you it now. And I got this this January. This thing is just incredible. I cannot believe that it actually goes off for multiple. It goes off for the same alert on multiple channels, as you can see from the other night. Oh yeah, there are the local area emergencies that I posted videos of the other day. Still can't believe I got those. But yeah, so you can see it's getting everything on channel 1. This was at 3 a.m. And then here's one at 2:49 a.m. on channel 6. And one at 2:29 a.m. on channel 7. And on channel 6. So that's what I was talking about. It got the same alert on both channels at the same time. And it stores 51 events, as I'm sure you could see up there in the log, which is just incredible. You can also monitor different sets of counties for each channel, and even change the backlight brightness and what the button beeps sound like. I mean, this thing is just insane. So then over here, you've got a Radio Shack 12521A. And as you can see, the screen is just completely unreadable. UUUU_UL exclamation point $54. And the clock is just meaningless lines. And look at that, the signal icon, it's broken. It's supposed to only either show all 3 bars for there being signal, or flashing on and off for there being no signal, unlike on the Thrift 260, which actually shows you the signal strength. But it's not doing that, it's just showing you the, tower part of the bar. So that's weird, but thankfully, the tuner still works, since this one's from 2011.
Take steps now to protect tender plants from the cold.
And it does sound pretty good. And here's just a look at the date code sticker, so you can see this is from May of 2011. And then next to it, I've got the Midland WR120B. And this was actually a birthday gift from my grandparents, who I forgot to mention also gave me this radio. So I really appreciate that. This one was from 2022, and it is the 2021 version. So it's basically the same as the WR120EZ, except it's very, very slow. Let me just show you how long it takes to go into the menu. And yes, I know I can factory reset it, and that'll fix it, but I just haven't done that yet. So now it finally went into the menu. And then when I exit the menu, it finally got out of the menu. I didn't even change anything. I think it takes longer when I change settings in there. But it does sound great.
Spotter information
And this thing is one of my most incredible DXers. I've received stations over 200 miles away on this radio. And as I was just posting last month, I got a lot of alerts on this in the summer of 2022 on distant stations. It's really good at going off on weak reception, even better than the WR30. So this is a really, really great radio, I have to say. And then next we have got the Eton FR370. I got this new in the box on March 3rd, 2023. I actually unboxed this about 15 minutes before the alerts started coming in, and I was just counting up. I think I got over 60 alerts that day, and I'm getting ready to post the compilation within the next month or two from now, finally. So that's going to be exciting. But anyway, this is a really cool radio, I have to say. It gets great reception on weather band, good reception on FM, it gets decent reception on AM, and the battery life is okay. I'm using high capacity AAAs, so that's probably a bit better than what you'd expect from either lower capacity ones or maybe even some alkalines. But it's a pretty good radio, and it's the only hand crank radio that I have, at least, with SAME, which is really cool. And of course, like most Etons do, this one has both SAME and 1050Hz activation, so even if it misses the same tones, it'll still go off. And here we have a 1050 only radio. This is a vintage Radio Shack 12247, and this is actually the original version. The sticker is kind of faded back here, but you can see it's from 1996. I think it said July originally. It said 07A6, which would be July of 1996.
mostly sunny.
And it sounds great.
Highs in the upper 70s.
It's extremely loud. That thing is ear-splitting. And as you could hear, it has the same pitch siren as the 12247A, and that didn't actually used to be the case, but I put this outside on the deck for a couple of afternoons to get rid of a smoky smell that it had, and obviously it still works, but the siren pitch actually changed. It was sort of halfway in between what it is now and the regular 247B high-pitched sirens, and now it sounds fully low-pitched like an A version, which honestly I do prefer better, but it's still kind of weird that it did that. But anyway, I got this in March 2022. And then back here is my biggest boombox. This is the JVC RC-W210. It has two 4.5-inch speakers. And it can probably, quite possibly, when it's all the way turned up and distorted, it can probably give my whole weather radio collection a run for its money in terms of loudness. Even when it's not distorted, you can still hear this sometimes from across the street, even with the windows closed. And I got this actually from my grandparents. They got this back when it was new, around 1989, and eventually stopped using it, so they gave it to me, which is awesome, in November 2021. And lastly, over here, we've got the Midland WR400 version 3. And I got this as a Christmas gift from my grandmother in 2021.
More widespread thunderstorm activity.
It's a very good sounding speaker, I have to say. I don't like the mini features quite as much as the WR300, but it does get better reception, especially on AM and FM. And this was a really awesome gift. So, oh yeah, I forgot this strobe light. This is my favorite weather radio strobe light so far, the Recom RA-1603A, which was another gift from my grandmother. This one was for my birthday of last year, 2023. And of course I have it plugged into the R200. So once again I'll show you the trick where you get the plug lined up just right in the jack, and now it's on. And this thing is just insanely bright. It blows away the Midland one, for sure, and the cord is much longer, and the battery life is much better. It's been running on these same 3 AAAs, or actually these are AA's. It's been running on the same 3 AA's for over a year, whereas the Midland one wants a fresh set of batteries every few months, and it doesn't even spend as much time going off because the Midland one is only going off for a few seconds per alert. Well, it was until I changed it to the Recom. But it was connected to the WR300 for a long time. And this one goes off for the full length of each alert because it's plugged into the Recom. And it's still going on the original batteries from my grandmother, because she also gave me some batteries, which was really nice. Alright, so that's it for this side of the room and my desk over there. So now let's go to my biggest weather radio setup right over here. This shelf is pretty new for me. We've actually had it for a long time, but I just found it in the basement the other month. So, it wasn't being used, it was just in the storage room, so I just brought it up and cleaned it up because it had gotten dusty over the years. And it actually works really well as a weather radio shelf. So I'll just start at the top. We've got the Radio Shack 12-261, which was a birthday gift from my grandmother in March 2022, and I actually got this at the same time as the R1650, and that was one of my coolest birthdays in a long time.
Tonight, clear.
I absolutely love this radio. It sounds so good. It works really well. It's probably the only Radio Shack first header radio that reliably activates off of KEC80, and it's a really nice classic radio. Mine is from 2005, and I like this one so much that I'm going to try to also get the 2003 version. And yeah, it's just a really great radio. And then we've got the Radio Shack 12521B, which I got to replace the 521A, because as you can see, the screen is working really well. I'm sorry that my finger keeps getting in front of the camera. Let me move that. So of course,
30%.
It sounds great.
And now the extended forecast.
I got this one used online in October 2023, and I've had it now for about almost 6 months, I guess. And the screen obviously still works, whereas this one started doing this after only 1 month, so I know that it's still going to work. And one thing interesting about this radio is that it's actually also from 2011, just like this one. I think the sticker is inside the battery compartment. Let me just turn it on its side. Actually, that's going to be a bad idea because the batteries would all fly out of there. Let me show you inside here. I think the sticker is...
Highs in the mid-set.
I just turned it on. I think the sticker is in the middle. Okay, here it is. It's on the edge. So you can see there it says 11B11, which would indicate November 2011. And, oh no, I'm not going to be able to get these back in here.
Advisory is in effect for far northeast Georgia from 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time Sunday, where temperatures as low as 34 are forecast.
Okay, anyway, so this is obviously a version B, but it's also from 2011. However, we know, after seeing that the screen still works after a much longer time in use than this one had before the screen started going bad, that the 521B is very different from the 521A. So these weren't just made in 2012, apparently. And next up is the first weather radio that I ever actually got. This is the Recom R1630C. I got this on Amazon in July 2020.
59 degrees, dew point.
I still love how it sounds on KEC 80. So just like most of Recom's other radios, it's an excellent radio. One thing to watch out for is getting ones that were made before 2010, because like the WR100s, these Recoms from before 2010, or the version Cs at least from before 2010, tend to get tuner issues. But I believe both version A's and B's and 2010s and laters from the version C's. And I think there's also a version D of the Recom R1630. All of those should work. So next over here we've got the Sangean CL100. And this is actually my second one because I accidentally killed the first one. I plugged it into the wrong adapter. It was this thing's adapter. And it just fried the tuners on all three bands. So eventually, about a year later, I got this one. Whoops, I just turned on the clock time.
Rome. It was partly cloudy, 53 degrees.
So if you have this radio, I'm sure you know what I mean when I say that this is one of my absolute favorite radios, not even just weather radios, but all radios. It is incredible. It's probably the second best sounding regular speaker in my collection of audio devices. It doesn't get very loud, at least when it sounds good, but the siren gets very loud. It's the loudest weather radio in my collection. But for music, it doesn't get nearly as loud as something like that boombox, but it actually has better sound quality than that vintage boombox. And obviously gets excellent reception. It's got a plethora of extra jacks and ports back here, including for an AM antenna, FM and weather band antenna, external alert, headphones, and even an auxiliary input jack so you can plug in your own audio source. And for that, you just turn it on to the power function and switch the band. So I've used that quite a lot. This actually also does not have a display mode. You just have to flip the switch, and that just turns it completely off. But at least it's easy to do. Oh yeah, and I got this one in March 2023, a couple days before the big severe weather outbreak on March 3rd. And the first one that I had, I accidentally killed in late March 2022, and I got it in January 2021. Both of these I've got from Amazon. And then next, over here, we've got my Radio Shack 12250, which I got used, but with the manual and the same code sticker for the underneath the door in May 2022. However, unfortunately, since then, the antenna had a failure. The connection is still good, but the physical component inside there that actually keeps it steady broke. So you can see if I hold it up like this, it stays up, but if I let go, it just flops around. So I have to use it with an external antenna. And this is actually the one that came with the Emerson Research, which I got at the thrift store on the same day as a WR300 version 5 Deluxe. That was an incredible day. I think I made a video on that. That was in August 2023. But anyway, with this one, it's one of my favorite radios. It's definitely more advanced than the 12249, which is actually another one of my favorites. It's just such an iconic radio, and especially for me, which I'll explain why in a minute. But I really like this one.
Outlook is for portions of north and central Georgia.
It has great sound quality, it gets loud, it works so well. Obviously the antenna part wasn't great, but it gets good reception, and it has a nice colored backlight. It's just such a nice radio, honestly. And then here is its direct predecessor, the Radio Shack 12249.
23 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
And mine is kind of distorted sounding,
The following
unfortunately,
reports of weather.
but it does still get very loud. And the reason why this radio is so iconic for me is that actually, the single event that really inspired me to start collecting weather radios was witnessing another one of these going off at my grandparents' house. This was the same grandmother who gave me the strobe light and the 261 and the WR400 and 1650 over the past 3 years. So she's been really great. I basically just, I put those radios on my gift wish lists, and if she gets something that's on there, then that's fantastic, and if not, then whatever, because she always finds something else cool. But anyway, I really enjoyed seeing this radio going off at her house, and that was actually before Granddaddy passed away in 2020. And I recorded that radio going off as my first ever EAS alert. And I posted that as my first ever video in late 2021. And then the day after I got that alert on the old 12249 at their house, back at home, I pulled out our old hand crank radio, which is also in the closet with the 12262 that's broken, because it also is kind of broken. It's a Black & Decker WDR5B. I'm sure you've seen it if you've seen some of my older videos. But anyway, shortly after that, a few weeks after that, is when I got this radio. And anyway, with this one, I got this one actually as a gift from my same grandmother who gave me those other radios. And this was for Christmas 2021. Or no, sorry, that was the WR400. This one was for Christmas 2022. So yeah, this is one of my favorite radios as well, although it doesn't have quite the same features as the 12250. I especially love its really classic-looking design, and it's just such an iconic radio. It's the first ever same radio ever released. So this is just a great one. And then next to it, I've got a not-so-great one, the General Electric, made by Thomson Consumer Electronics, model 7-4845A. So as you can hear, it has both distorted audio and bad reception. It's actually terrible reception. But one thing I actually do like about this radio is, well, first, the light here is plenty bright. That also flashes during an alert. But mainly, I like that it actually activates even with reception that bad. So I found this at the thrift store as my first ever thrifted weather radio in June 2022. And then up here we've got kind of a tragic radio, I guess, for me. I got this Radio Shack 12519 on Amazon, new in the box, in May 2022. And the left speaker was just totally dead right out of the box. So eventually I found a way that I might be able to get somebody to repair this radio, but unfortunately the problem turned out not to be with the speaker. And then in the process, I think some of these buttons stopped working. So now I can't listen to the Skywarn broadcast, I can't listen to the weather radio, or FM or AM, or the auxiliary input, and I can't set the clock. The only thing I can do is open the menu, scroll to the right, but not to the left. That doesn't work. And I can scroll up and down and select with the select button, and I can adjust the volume, and that's literally it. So I really need to get a new one of these, because this basically is just a non-programmable static weather monitor, and it frequently likes to get signal loss, even though it's on KEC 80. So yeah, I just need to get a new one of these. This one is from June 2009, by the way. So then lastly, up here, we've got the Emerson Research CKW2000, which I already mentioned, but I just wanted to show you again, a bit more detailed. So it's got a dimmer, just like the AlertWorks, which I actually don't think I showed you. AlertWorks is pretty much the same, except it has a switch instead of a button. But this one sounds great. It's much louder and actually clearer than the AlertWorks is on voice.
It was clear, 50 degrees,
I think it's
wind
insanely
north
loud.
at 6 miles an hour.
Unfortunately, FM reception really sucks. It was getting like a dozen stations at most, whereas on something like the analog boombox, it gets a station on almost every frequency, at least where I live. But AM reception is a totally different story. This absolutely rivals the CO100 and probably the Sony Boombox. The JVC is no joke on AM either, but I think it's not quite as clear as the digital ones, oddly enough. Or these three ones at least. But yeah, this is definitely a cool radio. Again, like the CO100 and First Alert over there, it does not have a display mode, which is kind of annoying, but at least it has a low siren level mode. The alert lights are not as good as the AlertWorks alert lights. They're much dimmer, and this one actually says statement for some reason instead of advisory. Oh, and also this one is a version 13, which is supposed to be really unreliable, but mine has had absolutely no issues so far. So I guess I'm just lucky, which is kind of rare judging by the other distorted radios, honestly. Oh, how could I forget this? This is my oldest weather radio, and it just went out of focus. The realistic 12140.
Wind calm. Birmingham, it was mostly cloudy.
I got this one, I think, because of SPC Cranford 1056's video on it. And I first got a Midland 74109 on accident. I was trying to get a WR100, and instead I got a 74109 in a WR100's box. So I ended up returning that because I also got this one at the same time. But this one is basically like a slightly better 3-channel version of the 74109 because it gets much better reception. And it has the same siren. And if you listen closely to the speaker, which I'll let you do in just a second, it doesn't actually leak the voice 24/7 through the speaker like the 74109 does. It has a very slight buzzing sound, but that's it. Listen. So, this is definitely one of my favorite radios, and this one's from 1988. And in the dining room we have a Midland WR300 version 5 Deluxe. And in case you don't know what the Deluxe is referring to, it means that the radio was made in 2010 or later, as indicated by the serial number beginning with 0 or 10, or I think all the way up to 19. And that basically means that the radios, these WR300s, and the same also goes for WR100s, made in those same years, don't get tuner issues, or at least not nearly as commonly as the older ones.
Light southeast winds.
And I found this at the thrift store on the same day as I got my Emerson Research CKW 2000 there, and that was in August 2023. Also, here's our dog Scotty. Good boy. So then lastly, over here, I have, up here is my broken CO100. Then over here, first we've got the newer version of the Midland WR10, which I'll go ahead and hold up to the older one so you can see the difference in appearance. One on the left has a darker top and white printing as opposed to light gray printing. And this is unplugged right now because it gets the worst reception out of any weather radio I have ever used. It doesn't even get KEC80, except for when it's on battery power. It's just really, really finicky. I don't think there's actually anything wrong with it, but it's just the absolute most finicky radio ever. So, especially already having this one, I just don't use this one. I found it at the thrift store, and I thought it was actually the older version as opposed to the newer version, but it turns out this one is the older one. And I believe it was made in 2007, according to the serial number. And I found it in September 2023. So then as the last radio that I currently have in service, we've got the Midland ER210. And this was the first radio that I ever got as a gift from my grandmother. This one was for my birthday in 2021. It's got an incredibly bright flashlight. It totally overloads the camera. And it actually does a Morse code SOS signal, which is really cool. And this thing gets good reception on weather band, decent reception on FM, and very good reception on AM, especially when paired with the antenna, which it kind of fits perfectly inside of. Like that. And of course it has a solar panel, which is very sensitive. Even if I hold it up to the light bulbs, you can see the light just came on. And I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but the battery icon should also be flashing. It's actually charging from the light bulbs. So, this is one of my favorite radios. I don't use it too much because I like to have it ready to go in the car. But it's currently up here, and it's a great radio for sure. So, that will be about it for this video. Now, I do plan on making a new setup with my weather radios at some point very soon. And I'll probably, if I don't get a chance to it beforehand, I'll definitely make a new video of the weather radio collection and setup as of July 9th of this year, just like I did last year, which will be the 4-year anniversary of getting that first alert on my grandparents' 12249. That's why I chose that day. So, anyway, that will be about it for this video. Also, one last thing, make sure to go check out Northeast Georgia EAS's channel. A link will be in the description, but like I said, I think he's one of my, definitely one of my newest and greatest friends in the EAS community, and I really like his videos. He's got some great ones on there. But that'll be it for this video. So thank you very much for watching.